Might be 5, 4, 3.
Hello, I'm MC Toon, and it's Tuesday night. Finally. Last week we didn't have a normal one. It's been 2 weeks since we had a Tuesday night, and I'm excited to be back. I'm in South Florida. It's the weather has been pretty nice now. It was cold at first, but today was warm. So we do have a debate. This has been a long time in the making. I'm very excited for this because I really like PJC Net, and he is here. He's even on camera. I don't know if he's been on camera before, but I'm excited that he's here and on camera for everybody. And welcome, PJ.
Oh yeah, on camera on a £13.99 webcam.
All right. £13.99. All right. Well,
Only the best.
It makes you look thinner. Maybe we can get some NASA CGI to help me too. What have you been on camera before? Is this the first time?
Not on camera, only on audio.
All right. Well, I'm glad to be the first one. Well, I've despite the sad news that we had, I'm sure you know about Cliff, our good friend Cliff, passing away, and I'm wearing in memory the SC Toon Show shirt. There's Cliff right there, the pimp cat. We can have a good lively debate tonight. So, PJ, do you want to say anything about yourself so people know who you are?
Well, okay. I'm a globe skeptic, more than what you call a flat earther. I strongly suspect that our reality, and especially space, isn't as it's presented to us. Shall I say how I got into it? Okay. Like many people, I got into things a lot of people would call conspiracies. The first event where the official narrative didn't really fit in for me was Princess Diana's death way back in 1997. Then, of course, loads of other things happened since then, including 9/11 and many other things. A lot of people dismiss things as conspiracy theories, but there's actually a lot of evidence if you look into some of them seriously. And I'm convinced that there's a huge amount of deception. To put a long story short, a few years ago, I noticed a few flat earth videos, including Eric DeBay. I watched them seriously, but I dismissed them at first. And when I looked into the official explanations, and many things that were originally claimed, like the AE mapping model, simply doesn't work for many reasons. But it played on my mind for a few months, and I came back for more. Again, I was skeptical because of how it was so easily debunked, but then I realized that the AE map wasn't the only alternative to the globe model, so I looked into other alternatives. I've also seen many video anomalies on so-called space missions. Yes, a lot can be explained, but there's always an official answer to every single one, so I'm not going to spend 80% of them tonight. But in all probability, I believe there's just too many of them for there to be nothing going on there. As time went on, including more recently with yourselves, I've seen a huge amount of evidence pushing the official globe model and debunking flat Earth, but I still believe that there's knowledge that's been hidden from us, including the nature of our reality, and also with the field of paranormal, which despite so much evidence just gets officially dismissed. I know there's things that exist that science dismisses from personal experience, and I think it's very unlikely that the leaders at the top aren't aware of this and many other things they choose not to share with us. There's also likely scientific discoveries that haven't happened yet There's never been a time in our recorded history where there wasn't new scientific discoveries just waiting to be found. And therefore, logically, the same is true now.
All right. Well, of all those, the topic for tonight is the shape of the Earth. So you said the AE map is easily debunkable. What was it about the AE map, the flat Earth claim map, that is the most commonly claimed one? What is so easily debunked about it?
There's lots of things. One is there's 2 star rotations. Also, everywhere that you stand and look at the luminaries, they just don't match up with the position that you are on the actual AE map.
When you say luminaries, do you just mean stars, or do you mean sun and moon too?
Everything just doesn't match
So
up.
sun and moon. Okay, so any map where the sun and moon and stars don't match up is easily debunkable.
That map is. It depends how it works as well.
Okay, so there's more to it than just not matching the position and the location.
There can be, because
there can be. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So now the thumbnail I have, I chose the thumbnail because you didn't have an avatar, and I think, did you say what? Did I ask you what you wanted for an avatar? I usually do, but I used the map that I know is the one that you favor, that comes from Awake Souls and Limitless, or Jason and Ronnie, as their first names are. And do you think that map is accurate?
I don't think it's 100% accurate, but it's probably the best that we've got at the moment.
So it's better than any other flat Earth map, and you think better than the globe map.
It attempts to be the best that we've got. Basically, a flat map where everything works like the globe as we see.
Okay, so because that's a strong claim you made there, right? That it kind of works, right? Okay, so what features of that map are important and make it work?
Well, for the whole map to work, we have to be living in a simulation. And before people say that's ridiculous, there is evidence. There's a lot of scientifically backed stuff which supports the simulation theory or hypothesis, which I could actually show later. And one of the things that map relies on is actually viewing what you actually see is what you see from where you are on that map, rather than you see things uniquely in your circle of sight. Unlike
you see things uniquely in your circle of sight.
Yes.
Okay. Now I've looked at that map, and I did not come to that conclusion. Like the directions to things don't work.
Yeah, but it's where you stand, you're viewing uniquely. So wherever you stand, you're seeing things uniquely from your position in the sky.
Okay.
It assumes that you're in a simulation.
Okay, so it seems to me like the simulation thing is like your get out of jail card free, or get out of jail free card. Like you get to claim anything you want, and if it doesn't match, you're just going to say simulation.
there is evidence, scientific evidence, that a simulation is real. It's supported by a lot of people, even Elon Musk, even Neil deGrasse Tyson actually says
Yes.
it's a 50-50 chance.
Well, yeah. So saying for somebody to philosophize about it and say, well, maybe that's different than actual evidence. So I wouldn't accept any one person saying it could be. I would expect to see some sort of a confirmed experiment, an experiment that confirmed that it was correct.
Okay, so I suppose you're going to dismiss, I think I don't know how you pronounce it, I think it's Nick Bostrom, which is basically why Elon Musk believes it. Do you want me to go through that, or do you want me to go into string theory?
Just send the DOI links to the confirmed experiments. Do you have those?
Give me a sec. There's the two slit experiment, the double slit experiment, which you probably do know about. I've got like a video on that, which you probably can't play because of copyright. But I've got images and stuff.
Wait, but why would the double slit experiment, which is well explained with quantum physics, why would that be a confirmation of a simulation?
Because the atoms act differently whether they're observed or not. Whether they become waves, I believe, when they're observed.
Okay.
They act like waves.
Okay. But why does that lead anyone to conclude simulation theory? Because that doesn't tell me simulation theory.
Well, it certainly doesn't add up with our sciences we've got at the moment, does it? How could atoms know they're being observed?
Wait, what do you mean? Do you mean observe? What do you mean when you say observed?
Right, they use a detector.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I have got images and stuff here, but I don't know whether I can present them.
Well, you can. If you want, you can send it in. There's a link in or a side chat in Zoom here. And since you're on a computer,
you should just be able to screen share and
it's a little easier. Yeah.
So how do I get into the side chat? Oh, I've got it. I've got it.
Yeah, you can right there. Yeah, and Craig, who is producing, by the way, FTFE is producing. He can pick it up and put it up on the screen there.
Give me a sec.
But now, I mean, the double slit experiment is familiar to probably the majority of the audience.
This one's the most common one.
The most common one. All right. Craig, can you grab that and yeah, that's the pretty common diagram of the double slit experiment.
I mean, I can go through how it works.
Well, I don't think you need to go through how it works. I think maybe it's more beneficial if you go through how that leads somebody to conclude simulation theory, and maybe where the hypothesis, what's the hypothesis for simulation theory, and how is that confirmed with that particular experiment?
Well, it leads to believe that we're in a simulation by the way that atoms aren't working as you'd expect them to work in normal physics. And also, if atoms can change the way they behave by whether you're observing them or not, then surely what you can see could change by whether you're observing them or not as well.
So when you say when you observe, are you thinking that that it's a human observing, Like,
it's a detector in that case because an atom's too small. But there's
yeah,
also a
okay.
screen that collects the evidence.
Yeah, okay. So I just want to make sure, because some people think that that when we talk about quantum physics and something being observed, that they think it's somehow the interaction with the human, which is not what they mean by being observed. It's the wave function collapsing into a completed state, right? It went from a wave function, which is about percentages and likelihoods where things may be, and then it collapses into a single atom, essentially, right?
Don't you think it's peculiar?
All right, sure, it's peculiar, yes, but that doesn't. But I'm still waiting for the hypothesis, that you would hypothesize, the testable hypothesis for that you could say, here is what we expect if if the entire universe is a simulation, and here is how we're going to test that, right? That we're going to make a prediction on that hypothesis, and then there's the experiment on that. So you're saying that the experiment is the double slit experiment. So then we need kind of the hypothesis and the calculating the ramifications of it. Where are those, so that we can go through that?
Right. I knew you'd get me into a corner somehow.
Well, that's science, right? That's the process of science, is you get your hypothesis, right? You've watched my show. I like to play the Feynman quote, where he talks about the very basic essence of how to do science, that you guess, right? He says guess, that's your hypothesis, and then you calculate the I'm forgetting the particular word he uses, but the ramifications of it. That's not the word he uses, but you calculate what that means, and then you test it,
consequences,
and compare it. The consequences of that prediction. Calculate the consequences, and then you test it. You observe it in nature, or you test by experiment or something. So just saying, isn't it peculiar, isn't actually a hypothesis.
Okay, I'll have better.
Okay.
S. James Gates Jr. is a professor of physics, director of the Center for String and Particle Theory at the University of Maryland in College Park. Basically, he claims to have discovered computer code within string theory. And string theory is very difficult to explain.
Yeah.
But it basically is, as much as I can explain it, it's a theory that proposes that the fundamental constituents of the universe are one-dimensional strings rather than point-like particles. What we perceive as particles are actually vibrations in loops of string, each with its own characteristic frequency. And many scientists believe in this now, or certainly it's going a long way in the scientific community as starting to be accepted. But this person has actually claimed to find this code within string theory, and he said that it's actually like a what's the word, error correcting code, and he's actually found it within string theory.
So first of all, string theory is better called string hypothesis, because there are no confirmed experiments that I know of backing string theory or string hypothesis. And so how could it is string theory, I'll use the common term, but is basically a non-experimental position. It's all based on just thought experiments. And so how could something that I don't know of having ever been any, having any experimental confirmation backing it, how could somebody find error correcting code in it when it's strictly just people that have hypothesized and written about it?
Well, that's what he claims. He said, let me see. He says he quite unexpectedly found it. They're like error correcting block codes. He says, yeah, he says it's basically, it's like code which removes errors in computer transmissions, but he found it in these it's like he said, it's like a sequence of bits representing error correcting codes.
Okay. In the
It's very difficult to explain. I mean, I tried to look into it further, and he said that actually I watched one of his videos, and he said that I could go into the full details of it and explain it. He said, but not one person here would understand a word of it. Okay. So that's why it's not easy to understand. But that is a claim, and
so it's a claim. So it's yet another claim, but no experimental confirmation.
There is a video.
Would you like me to put the paper up that he's talking about? I've got it here.
Yeah. So Craig sent me a paper from 2008 that Gates was one of the authors of. Is this the one you're talking about? Relating doubly even error correcting codes, graphs, and irreducible representations of n-extended supersymmetry. Is that the one?
That's the one.
Okay. And you read that?
I watched the video.
You didn't
I
read
tried to understand it. It's not easy.
Okay.
He even said at the end of the video that if I could go into it in detail, but no one's going to understand it.
Okay. So, all right. So, but once again, this is just a hypothesis, right? It's based on the existing string theory math, which has not been confirmed empirically.
But a lot of scientists are now supporting it. It's the same as the Big Bang theory is not really proven either, is it?
If we're gonna go with a lot of scientists support it, then your position of the Earth maybe being flat doesn't get very far, right? It's just an appeal to popularity, and string theory actually isn't that popular. So it wouldn't even pass the popularity test. So and of course, DKG custom shape of the Earth, and I think it's foundational though to this conversation though because I have a feeling that every time that I point out an error in your idea of the Earth being flat, your answer is going to be simulation, right? So that's why I'm pressing to say, well, where is the empirical confirmation of simulation? And so far, we don't have any empirical tests. We don't have a testable hypothesis for simulation at all, much less an actual experiment that's been done to test it.
But if that's true and those codes are there, it's got to be pretty damning, hasn't it?
If what codes are there? If
error correcting codes are there within like little string particles or whatever they are.
No, what you're missing is these equations are not based on observing nature. They're not based on empirical measurements. They're not based on existing physical laws. They are manufactured by people to explain string theory. So having these codes in an equation that strictly is a man-made equation doesn't actually tell us much about simulation at all. But even then, let's give it to you for a second. Let's accept that for a second. Error correcting codes in a formula doesn't actually conclude for us then simulation theory.
It makes it look like a computer simulation. You'd have to be.
And so you have, I mean, where does that, how does that come about then?
Well, error correcting code, if something is wrong, it knows it's wrong. So it would ask for it to be sent again. That's what error correcting code does. It's it's when you send data.
Oh dear, no. Oh my goodness, no. You have described layer 4 and 5 of the OSI 7-layer salad, which is completely different from like Hamming codes in error correcting codes. Being a software engineer, it's the things that I'm familiar with. Yeah, layer 4 and 5 of the it's OSI, not ISO. OSI 7-layer salad is what actually, like in TCP, would request a retransmission of a failed packet. That is not error correcting code. That is the result of error checking, and maybe where error correction failed in a transmission.
Oh, I get you. So error correcting code actually corrects the code itself if it's wrong.
It's yes. So that's like Hamming code. So I can explain it a little. I got to do this thing here. A little more like the low level ECC RAM. I don't mean low level like low quality, but it's a bitwise operation where you use a series of exclusive OR operations to manufacture additional bits. So you can take 8 bits in a byte, and you can use ECC, and it outputs an additional 4 bits. So you have 12 bits to represent 8 bits. And if any one of the bits is wrong, you can identify that it's wrong and correct it to be correct and right the wrong if just one of those bits is wrong. That's ECC, and that is a error correcting code. ECC stands for error correcting code. So it can identify and fix the errors. That's what ECC RAM does. And so that's maybe would be the idea that there is some sort of a mechanism like that. But now he's talking about within the equations, not within the data. I briefly read what he was talking about. But you have to remember that string theory is just math that people have made up. That's all it is. It is not based on empirical measurements. It's not based on experimentation. It's not based on existing physical laws. It's just people doing math. So if you found error correcting codes in it, people did math and output that. It doesn't tell us anything about the universe, because string theory doesn't actually have any direct connection to the universe at this point. We don't know. It may be right. It may be completely wrong. Nobody knows, because
and the Big Bang Theory could be completely wrong as well.
Certainly.
Okay, good. Okay.
It doesn't, neither of them change the shape of the Earth being right or wrong.
Well,
That's
whether
key.
we're in a simulation is the difference between that map, whether it's got any chance of working or not. Because if it's not in a simulation, it can't work. Because
I agree. I completely agree. So your challenge then is to have some empirical evidence supporting simulation theory, which you don't have, which nobody has. I know that nobody has.
Nick Bostrom, that's what convinced Elon Musk. He convinced Elon Musk. He said said at least one of three propositions must be the truth. He said, number one, that almost all civilizations at our stage of technological development go extinct before they reach technological maturity. Two, there is a very strong convergence among all technologically mature civilizations in that they all lose interest in creating ancestor simulations. These are very detailed computer simulations of people like their historical forebearers, detailed enough that the simulated people in these simulations would be conscious. Or three, we are certainly living in a simulation. So in summary, if civilizations reach technological maturity and they're interested in using some of their immense technology to run such simulations, he says we're likely to be in one. And there's more to it than that. He convinced Neil deGrasse Tyson, first of all, and now he's gone back to saying, well, it's a 50-50 chance. He convinced Elon Musk, and he's certainly got the attention of a lot of people in the scientific side. It's not just been dismissed as stupid.
Okay. And any empirical confirmation of that?
Well, because everything's theoretical.
No.
You're not going to get absolute confirmation. That's based on probability.
No, I'm not asking for absolute. I'm asking for even the slightest little tiny experiment or empirical confirmation. Just a little something. Is there any? No, there's not.
Well, there was the two-slit experiment. That was an experiment.
Yeah, we already talked about that, but you didn't explain to me a hypothesis for what would make us think that to test whether or not it's a simulation, right?
Okay. You're going to say this.
It basically comes down to a religious belief because there's no empirical support for it, and so but you still accept it to be true. You still have faith in it. That makes it a belief.
You're going to say the same thing about quantum entanglement. I know you are.
About quantum entanglement? That you think quantum entanglement
as in the two-slit experiment.
Okay.
You're going to say the same thing about how it doesn't prove it. But let me just see what about that. Yeah, if we were writing a simulator for a game, you wouldn't want to waste resources simulating details that the player can't see or aren't immediately relevant. So you wouldn't simulate processes at an atomic scale unless the player decided to focus on them. That's the two-slit experiment, by the way, that was. I just realised. I mixed up a little bit. So let's look at quantum entanglement. Quantum entanglement is showing that particles can share information instantaneously. It breaks the laws of physics. Yeah, I understand it's going to be hard to say that that's definitely a simulation. But the two-slit experiments I just found extra stuff that actually makes that sound more plausible. I mixed up the notes a little bit. Yeah.
Where does quantum? Where does any of this?
Well, it goes against normal physics.
Well, okay. Well, then where does it break physics?
Well, you can communicate. Well, it's not really communication. It can change the state of another atom at any distance instantly. It breaks the laws of physics as far as the speed of light for a start.
Oh, well, send that along. Where's that?
Well, it happens instantaneously.
It's
any distance.
Atoms. All right. Well, who says that, and where's the? They
can share they can share information instantaneously over any distance. So surely that breaks the speed of light.
Actually, you can't. It's a common misconception that quantum entanglement can somehow transmit data faster than the speed of light, but it cannot. And the explanation for that, like you said earlier, is pretty complex, and I cannot present it myself, actually. But it does not actually violate. It does not violate the speed of light in transmitting data. So anyway, yeah, people like entanglement not equal faster than light. Exactly. So unfortunately, here's where we're at. Simulation theory, I know you're going to want to use it, but there's no empirical confirmation for it. So I'm not going to accept anything that just says simulation theory, because you don't have any confirmation for it. So
there is a huge amount of people that back that up now. It isn't just flat earthers.
Okay. Yep. So appeal to popularity is not going to go anywhere unless you want me to use it. Is if you want, I'm just going to say, well, everybody except for, a small handful of people think the earth is flat. The end. Thanks, everybody. You can go home now. Right. That's why, and that's why appeal to popularity isn't really a great way to go for you. But, and I'm going to be honest on this. Exactly 0 people need to believe in something or accept something to be true for it to be true. Right. You don't need any number of people accepting something to be true for it to be true. It doesn't change the truthiness of something to have lots of people following it. So again, appeal to popularity isn't going to go anywhere. So I'm going to say, show the experiments that confirmed it. Since you don't have that, and I know you don't, and you don't either, I'm not going to just listen when you say simulation theory. Right. I'm going to expect something backed by evidence. So, all right. So if I could, let's see, we got a couple people here. If I could take a minute. Stellarium Celestia says, boop that like button. Has been a member for 4 months. Thank you. We've got Alyssum. Alyssum is wondering, why is all navigation based on a globe? I'm sure you've heard that before. Do you know?
It appears like it's a globe. It acts like it's a globe. It doesn't mean it is a globe.
Okay. So all of our senses,
has
all
anyone
of our
actually
measurements,
been?
all of everything.
Yeah, you haven't been into space.
Well, a lot of people have.
Not many.
So more
That's
than 600. But you don't need to go to space to see if the Earth is a globe or not. There's many other ways to confirm that, right? Like we could just go measure it. So Connell Silverfur is saying he'd like 2 things from you, PJ: a working flat Earth map and to explain atmospheric pressure gradients on a flat Earth.
Working back, well, we need a lot of resources to actually do that. It's a case of you'd have to map everything from scratch.
Well,
and even then, if you're in a simulation.
Oh, no simulation. Until you've got evidence supporting simulation, we don't need to go to simulation.
Well, if you're a simulation, if you were in a simulation, you know what you're only seeing what you're seeing, aren't you? What the simulation's actually presenting to you.
Yeah, but there's no reason for us to think we're in a simulation. So empirically.
I could go on, but you probably won't. Well, it's not scientific.
Exactly. It's not
could
something
talk
that's
I could talk about consciousness and souls and going into alternative realities and stuff like that. Science
more things that can't be confirmed empirically. And that's not the topic. The topic is the shape of the Earth. So let me ask you this. You know Bob Nodell, and you know he had somebody spend a lot of money to purchase a fiber optic gyroscope or an optical gyroscope, one that's used in airplanes, and they're extremely good, and they have to be because the airplane needs to know its orientation. And what did he measure with that?
He measured on that documentary, the Netflix documentary, and there's no way that documentary is going to prove a flat Earth. It ain't going to happen.
I'm not talking about the documentary because he talked about it elsewhere, and there's videos of him using the gyroscope, turning it on, and then just seeing a 3-axis 15-degree-per-hour rotation, right?
Okay.
And what did he say in that documentary? What was his words? I'm not talking about his actual measurement, but what was how he approached the measurement? Do you remember that part?
I can't remember. He just said that I'm getting a 15 degree an hour drift. I can't remember the rest of it.
So the thing to me that was more important than what he measured, because he's not a scientist, so I don't actually care much about the way that he did it and the actual output of his measurement, because he didn't document it well. He didn't write it down. He didn't do any of the things that actual scientists do. He didn't submit it to a journal. He didn't publish it for other people to review and compare and analyze and say, hey, I think you did this wrong. Could you adjust this? Could you show us the formulas for this? He didn't do any of that. So I don't care about the specific things that he did, but what I care about is how he approached it. So, and here's what he did. This is the part of the reason why I don't actually use that clip, as funny as I think it is. I don't generally use that clip because when he says 15 degrees per hour and everybody says, thanks, Bob. I mean, it's fun, but it's not the key. The key is, he said, we want to prove the Earth is not rotating. That's what he said. And then he said, and we turned it on and we did not get our desired results. So we rejected the actual results because it didn't give us what we wanted. That's what he did.
15
that's the problem. Greg is playing it. Melka Ray is saying they did document it. They put it on their website for a while and took it out. You're right. They did kind of document it, but he didn't do it through kind of a more common approach where he presented it. They presented it to a journal or something like that, or asked for people to review it and then took their feedback. But so the point is, he decided on the outcome. The outcome must be Earth not rotating. That's his necessary outcome. Then he looked for ways to try and prove his outcome, his pre-selected conclusion. And when it didn't support his pre-selected conclusion, he rejected it. He tried again to find another way to support his pre-selected conclusion by encasing it in, so I forgot what his first thing that he was going to do. And it again did not work. And he came up with an excuse that has no empirical basis, heavenly energies. Then he said he's going to try another way to force his desired outcome by encasing it in bismuth. I don't know if he did that or not. It doesn't really matter. The point of it is he was not doing science. He was doing conclusion-driven investigation. So when flat earthers try to look for evidence, I find that the majority of the time, they are just doing conclusion-based investigation. So when we look at the shape of the Earth and we say, well, we can measure it, it gives us this measurement, and we can measure this and it gives us, and we do all of these things, and it comes out every single time a certain way. But flat earthers don't want that way to be the answer, so they reject it every time and instead substitute in something else. It's typically it's one of a handful of different coping mechanisms to provide an excuse or a way out. For you, it is simulation theory, right? For Ronnie and James, it is simulation theory. So why does their map not work? Simulation theory. Why does when I ask somebody else that uses the AE map, why does that not work? They'll say, well, we can't map it. Well, people have mapped it. Why does these 15 experiments or measurements of rotation say that the Earth is rotating? Oh, that's just words on paper. No, it's not. It's actually the result of an experiment or a measurement. So real work by real people, but they just hand wave it away. That's their excuse. So I'm going to ask you, PJ, don't do conclusion-driven investigation. Instead, let the evidence lead you to the correct ending and the correct understanding of it. Can we do that?
I understand what you're saying, but
okay.
But I do think there is a very good chance we are in a simulation.
Okay, but can we, instead of pre-selecting simulation, could we just say, let's see where the evidence brings us?
You can't prove you're not in a simulation. That's the other thing. You can't prove you're not.
Yep. Yeah, it's a completely non-scientific
but there's a lot of scientific people actually supporting it now.
Doesn't matter. Appeal to popularity. It is not part of science because we can't test it.
But it's becoming part of science.
Not if it's not being tested. If it's not being tested, it cannot be part of science. That's a critical part of science. You have to have a testable hypothesis. Right? That is a foundational part of science, that you have to be able to actually test it. So if you can't test it, then it's something else. That doesn't mean that it's not true. I'll say that. It just means that you can't use science to explore it. And also then can't put a whole lot of credence into anything from it. Right? So the map. Have you seen the when I had Jason Awake Souls, when I had him on and I went through the map?
I did. It was a while ago, and I saw how you measured the distances, and they were wrong, especially on Africa.
Yeah. So
Africa's distorted. That's the worst part of that map.
Yeah. Well, everything's 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 distorted. Let's see. Okay. Got to jump back to this. Okay. So, well, let's do this. Let me go through, because the rest of the audience maybe hasn't. Let's go through that briefly. And Craig has the has my slideshow that I did specifically for Jason. It's the same thing. So I think I did 4 different tests of the map, because he was pretty bold that their map has never been defeated. So yeah, scroll down to testing the map there, Craig. It starts with, from Cape Town, South Africa, the South Celestial Pole is observed due south, but their map predicts it to be 8 degrees south of Dewey. So almost just straight east, right? So why does that not work? I mean, that map, that's not even close. It's almost 90 degrees off of the observation to prediction.
It's because it works on a simulation. You see in the direction where you are.
All right. Well, then let's go to the next one then. You've got Anchorage, Alaska there at the top. Next slide. We've got taking the known subsolar points for the sunrise and sunset times seen in Anchorage. This map predicts these angles. So I took the on the let's see, what day was it? It doesn't matter what day. I forgot the specific day, but I think it's probably the June solstice is what I did. And so on the from your map, the actual position that the sun is at the time of sunrise is that blue dot on the Tropic of Cancer on the left, right? And then the sun moves to the left, to the west through the day. The sun is up the whole time, and then it Pac-Mans around to the other side, and it comes down, and then the blue dot on the right is where the sun is when the sun sets. It's where the sun actually is on their map. So that's a prediction using that map.
It doesn't work it doesn't work like that. The sun has its own path that you see uniquely from wherever you happen to be.
Oh, and do you have some evidence for that?
Well, that's what we observe.
Okay, now here's the thing. I am going with evidence, and I'm letting the evidence lead me to the conclusions. I'm not starting with a conclusion and then shoehorning everything in to force fit, right? So I'm looking at the map, and I'm treating it as a flat Earth map, a flat plane, and this is the map of the flat plane, because that's their claim, right? They're like, our map has never been disproven. Well, I'm testing their map. If the Earth is flat, a flat map of the flat surface is the easiest map to make, and this is the one they claim.
But it doesn't work in that way.
Clearly, it doesn't work. I agree completely.
No,
all right,
but
let's
it
go to the
works.
next. Let's go to the next one. So then I put on Anchorage, I put the actual sunrise and sunset locations. And of course, yeah, you're right. They don't even come close to matching. And on this map, they're about 90 degrees rotated. South is somehow straight to the left on that map instead of similar to the rest of it. It's this wavy thing. So, all right. Next slide, observation nowhere close to the prediction of this flat Earth map. Now, Jason sat there the whole time, and he didn't have an answer for any of these things. He's like, I can't believe you're doing this. That's about all he said. And you're not giving me much else. So
remember, he kept calling you a shell.
Oh, he certainly did.
He's called me a shill now as well.
I know it's and you and I are both in the shill club, and welcome to the shill club. I get a kick out of that. All right, let's keep going though. All right, how wide is Africa at the Tropic of Capricorn? That's the next slide there, Craig. I think there it is. So I just took how wide is Australia? So I took Australia from Ronnie and James's map, and I plopped it right on top of Australia, on Africa there, right across the Tropic of Capricorn. See that? Next slide. There you go. I just copy pasted Australia, put it right there on across Africa there, and then you go to the next slide. I use Google Maps to measure the width of Australia, about 4,000 kilometers. Next slide. I use Google Maps to get the width of Africa at about the same location where I'm going to put it, Tropic of Capricorn there, 2,200 kilometers. Next slide. And unfortunately, they look the same on the map, but in reality, the distance is about a 2-to-1 different distance. So that didn't work. Next slide. Then yes, the two flights, DL6 Tokyo to Los Angeles and LL11 New York to Tel Aviv. Next slide. We've got, so I took it on the bottom, the inset there is a Mercator projection. It's DL6 Tokyo to Los Angeles, and I used the map, the Ronnie and James's map, and I put those red lines.
Ronnie and Jason.
Ronnie and Jason. Ronnie and James. I like calling him Ronnie James Dio Harrison. It's like, I'm just guessing he's not a fan of Dio. Anyway, and so I used the actual position where the plane actually flew and just dropped it on their map. Go to the next slide. I did the same for the New York to Tel Aviv flight, as close as I could. I put it over the actual locations it went. And then next slide. And then now I put those two flights next to each other. Those red lines are just, I copy pasted them, and they're about 2-to-1 ratio. Then I looked at the next slide here. I looked at the actual distance of those actual flights, and they're both right around 5,500 miles. So they're both very close to the same distance, but according to Ronnie James Dio's and Jason's map, they're 2-to-1 off. They're completely off. So none of everything about this map actually doesn't work at all. All right, Craig, that's good. Thank you. So when they say this is the best map, they're actually not correct at all. It's incorrect in many ways. It's not that there's a small problem with the map. There's gigantic glaring problems with the map. And so they say that the AE map doesn't work because you can test it and you can find out that the angles to things and the distance, none of the things work in the AE map. Well, I did the same thing to their map and it didn't work. So
it's the closest you can get on a flat plane.
No, it's
and
not.
It actually does actually virtually wrap around the globe, apparently.
Well, every projection, if you unproject it, wraps around the globe very accurately. And it is a projection. You know the name of the projection?
I've got it written down. You're going to tell me.
I'll tell you. It's the oblique Mercator projection.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah. It's not very common, but it's been around since the 1800s. So I think the reason why it's not too common is because it distorts things in weird ways. That the benefit of it is that the distorted areas are generally where less people live, which is a weird reason to choose a distortion. But I guess it kind of makes sense. But it's a projection. It doesn't matter. It's a projection. If you wrap the AE map around the globe, it works. If you wrap the oblique Mercator projection around the globe, it works. If you map the Lambert conformal conic projection around the globe, it works. All of them work. So you can't say, well, it's a good map because if you wrap it around the globe, it works, because they all do that. All the projections do that. So why do you think that this projection is the best flat Earth map?
Well, I haven't seen any better. The idea is that you're on the flat plane and everything around you looks like it does now. I mean, it appears like you are on a globe, but it doesn't mean that you are. It's the closest you can get to actually being on a flat plane.
But
I mean,
why?
Those
why
simulations are flat usually. They're rendered flat.
I don't care about simulations.
But
so, why do you think that it's so accurate? I showed you 4 tests that failed miserably.
Officially, it's supposed to be. I don't think there is
what do you mean
anything on
officially?
it. That was what it was
officially?
originally claimed, I believe, when it came out. The map.
What
Supposed to be the most accurate map on a flat. That's what Rodney and Chase said. They said when it came out.
It sounds like you're just repeating Jason's claims. Did you actually go and look up?
I didn't check that
official claims.
I didn't check that bit. But it's supposed to be the most accurate map on a flat plane.
If you didn't check it, I don't want to hear about it. Let me just say the definition of indoctrination is what?
I don't know.
It uncritically accepting something that you've been told. So if you are saying that it is the most accurate map, but you uncritically accepted it, you didn't check it, then you were indoctrinated by Jason.
Only that little bit. But I don't know.
Yeah.
It probably is.
It probably is what?
Probably is the best map on a flat plane at the moment.
For
it probably
what
is
purpose?
better. Could be better.
But it depends on the purpose. If the purpose is I want to fly between California and Japan, that map is 100% useless. Because if you just draw a line between them, you're going to go the wrong direction. You won't get the distances correct either.
It does depend on you in your simulation though, because it's what you observe at the top where you are.
Yeah, but it doesn't match. That map never matches what we observe though. I tested it and it doesn't match.
It does from a specific point. If you're at one specific
point. From what point? From
any point. If you look up, you can actually you actually view from your own circle of sight.
Okay, please define circle of sight. I'm gonna need a little backup here.
Basically, you can look. Well, it's a semi-sphere, isn't it? You look up and you can actually see the luminaries moving across, the stars, etc.
But I tested that for Anchorage, Alaska, and it did not work. Remember, the sunrise angle on the June solstice and the sunset angle on the June solstice didn't match.
But that's looking at it as an ordinary flat map, not as you're living in a simulation.
Which I don't care about, because why would I? Because like I said, you are starting with the pre-selected conclusion of living in a simulation, which I completely reject. And you should too, because that's anti-science. That's religion. Right? You have a religion that you have selected simulation as the required outcome of everything. It's not logical. It's not rational. So rather than pre-select that, let's let the observations and the evidence lead us to the conclusion. Because when you look at the globe and you look at the sunrise and sunset angles from Anchorage, Alaska on a globe, they actually work. And when you look at the sunrise and sunset angles on a globe for Sydney, Australia, they work. And every single point on the globe for sunrise and sunset on every single day of the year works on the globe. So what does that tell us logically and rationally where we haven't pre-selected the outcome?
It looks like it's a globe. Doesn't mean it is a globe.
Absolutely. Okay. But now what happens then is you go to your chalkboard and you say, okay, 1 point for the globe, sunrise and sunset angles, right? And then you say, okay, let's do this. Let's measure triangles, big triangles on the surface of the earth, right? You've probably seen this, right? When you measure big triangles on the surface of the earth, you get more than 180 degrees every time. Well, if it's flat, you must get 180 degrees. And if it's a globe, you must get always more than 180 degrees, right? And what do you get? You always get more than 180 degrees. So what does that tell us logically and rationally?
It appears to look like a globe.
There you go. So we go to our chalkboard. We'll go number 2. We have another one for the globe and nothing yet for flat. Then we say, well, when you measure, it's a fast car just went by. When you measure the downward acceleration, right? Whatever it is, don't need to say it's gravity or whatever. When you measure the downward acceleration near the equator, it's a little bit less than near the poles. What does that tell us?
We don't actually know. We can't conclude that's anything to do with the globe.
Well, absolutely we can, because if the globe is rotating, then it must have a slight effect on the downward acceleration. And so we do see a slight effect on the downward acceleration that changes based on your latitude. Okay, so that goes back to the globe. We have another acts like a globe, and if it's flat, we would not expect that. Right? We can keep going. We can say, well, we can use Bob's gyroscope, or we can ignore that, and instead we can look at actual, like, solid, well done, well documented, thorough science, which I have on my website, mc2net/spin. I have a whole bunch of experiments.
And then you could look at a load of stuff that's in space or supposed to be, and loads and loads of flaws, which of course you always say is debunkable. You always say it's real, but there's loads and loads of flaws on the ISS and all sorts of stuff like that. I mean, there's too many of them.
Loads of what on the ISS?
Flaws that just don't look like rendering problems, like CGI problems or
I have never seen, and maybe you have, but I've never seen an actual, like, expert in video graphics analyze that and say, yep, that looks like somebody did some analysis. Do you have those? Have you seen an actual, like, somebody that knows what they're talking about in that?
You're not going to get any major expert do that, because they'll ruin their careers.
Okay, so no.
Well, they're going to ruin their careers.
I'm going
that.
Because
any expert that starts saying something like that, they're gonna get ripped to shreds. So they're not going to say it. They're not going to look at it.
But there's a large number of people that have a good deal of expertise in video graphics that could do some analysis on it, and none of them have ever done it and said, yep, that looks like it's been generated. So yeah, so all right, so no evidence for it then. That's the problem. So that does not give you a check mark on the flat earth side, because there's no evidence for it, right? You need to have evidence for it. It's just a claim. You just claim that there's problems with the video, but until there's actual evidence for the problems with the video, it's not very useful. I finished my first Toon Shine. Need to open up my second Toon Shine. There we go.
When are you coming back from holiday?
We head back. We're supposed to be back on Sunday night, late. Gonna be cold. Gonna be snowy.
Had a good time.
It's been great. The weather has been warmer today. We went to Palm Beach and it was still cold, but went to the ocean. So all right, let me see here. Saeed Ahmed said something that I'm not going to read. Sorry, Saeed. Craig, can you put both of us on? Mark Beiser This is good. He's been a member for 20 months. He said string theory is just masturbation. And that's what it is. I see it on Facebook a lot of the time, memes, because the flat earthers on Facebook can't do anything but meme, basically. They're like, all your mathematical query formulas can't prove that the earth is a globe, which so many errors with that claim. But for the most part, not for the most part, for the complete part, the math that we use to explore the globe isn't just math. It's math based on empirical evidence and measurements. You can't do a measurement without math, except for the most basic, like kindergarten measurements. But string theory is just math. So Connell Silverfur says, PJC, please drop the baseless claims, the appeals to authority, and biased, untestable theories on other untestable theories. Evidence is king. I've kind of been saying that, haven't I? Now Batman, just, I'm Batman, but I don't know how Batman got a hold of my account, but Batman says for 10 pounds, no, Batman is not British. He doesn't pay in pounds. Silly. Anyways, for 10 pounds says, you think the earth is flat? Dude, I've been to space in multiple realities. Not in a single one is the earth flat. In one, it had been turned into a cube, but we don't talk about Bizarro World. There you go. Batman's been into space, so flat earth debunked. But that wasn't actually Batman. My phone's Wi-Fi, so my phone is talking to my laptop here over a hotspot, and the name of my phone hotspot is Batman. So if you're ever near me, here's how you know if you're near me. You just have your hotspot checking for iPhones named Batman, and then you'll know you're near me. How about that? Pilo 1408 for $5 says, so we could assume that a perfect simulation is possible and that someone would waste processing power to run one. Therefore, we live in a simulation. I don't know.
That's the thing. I mean, processing power wouldn't be wasted at things you're not looking at. That's where the double slit experiment comes from.
I don't think it actually follows, but and how do you know if we are in a simulation how much processing power they have?
Well, they've obviously got a lot.
Obviously, I mean, they've got like 5 or 6 Pentium Pros going, at least.
Eventually,
in a big Beowulf cluster for
carry
sure.
on the way it was in the 1970s.
NASA found out.
No, I believe it started in the 1970s, although I think even before that.
There you go, that should be
with
back.
the first AI.
The simulation crashed. Did it start in the 1970s? I don't know. I'm going with Matrix. Craig, the fourth movie. What do you think?
I loved all the Matrix movies. I haven't seen the fourth one yet. But apparently it ruins it.
The fourth one's not that good.
Okay.
It's all right.
Have you seen it?
I have. It's not that good. It's all right.
No,
it's not bad, but
I mean, I basically know it because
one.
I've read the entire script. But you know, the director, the Wachowski sisters, decided to use the fourth one to basically explain what the original trilogy was about. So it's all very, very meta.
I think the first one was the best. The third one was probably the second best. The fourth one's probably the third best, and the second one was a bit crap because
I fucking love the second one.
Joining the first one to the second one, sorry, to the third one.
I liked the second one, yeah.
In fact, they built an entire motorway.
It's kind of like Back to the Future. Like, you know, the third one, you're like, ugh, you ruined it.
Well, the third one was the climax, anyway.
Back to the Future people are going to get mad at me now. All right, so we've got. Hold on a second. The agents. Monkey Cat Pat says, "I think the agents found the stream." I'm looking for him. I don't see any.
Elon Musk is actually talking about. Well, he was talking about spending money trying to investigate ways to break out the simulation. I don't know how true it is, but that's what I looked up. He's apparently so.
I watched Elon Musk's rocket go to space yesterday.
You didn't watch it go to space. You watched it. Like you watched something last off. You didn't see it go to space.
Really?
I did. I watched the stream and I kind of saw it go to space.
How did it not go to space? Did it not get above 100 kilometers?
You don't know. You just watched it. You watched it go up, but you didn't see it go into space.
Yes, I did.
Where did it go then?
How did you? You weren't in space.
Did it go above 100 kilometers? If it went above 100 kilometers, it went to space. That's the definition of space.
Well, that's what they call space, maybe.
And not only did I watch it go to space, I watched it come back and land in front of me, and I heard and felt the sonic booms. Right here. I felt them in my chest. That's not luminaries. That's not just seeing something. I felt it. It was amazing. It was...
The most impressive hologram.
Because I was... What's that?
The most impressive hologram.
The amount of to think that could have been faked is so ridiculous. So I knew because the day before I was there with Astronomy Live and Res Rhetoric, and it's a good thing I had welding goggles with me so I could look upon his face, and the other people Astronomy Live to look at him he forgot, so he had swimming goggles. And he just filled the inside with Vaseline, and that worked for him. So they're like, it's going to go there, it's going to go up here, it's going to land there. They knew everything because Astronomy Live had mapped it all out with his tracking software. And they're like, it's going to land, and then about 5 seconds later, you're going to hear the sonic boom. And Reds asked me to yell, just as it was landing, to everybody, be quiet, listen for the boom, but it didn't launch that day, and I didn't say it the next day. People were quiet, and and I knew it was coming, and you still jump. It's crazy, so cool. So how was that? How did I not feel the sonic boom? I saw it the whole time. I watched it take off. Yeah, I tracked it with my phone. I saw it separate. I saw the second stage continue, and I tracked the first stage come back down and land, and then I felt the sonic booms. How did that happen?
You don't know it went into space, though.
I don't. How do I not know that?
Well, you don't, because you can't see. You weren't able to see it when it actually went into space. You're only able to see it up to a certain altitude. You don't actually know what's up there or whether it actually really went into space.
So where did it go then?
You don't know. Could have gone anywhere.
But I saw it.
I saw it go up and then vanish.
No, it did not vanish.
Part that landed. Well, of course it did eventually, didn't it? You can't see it now.
Yeah, I didn't follow the second stage. I followed the first stage. The first stage was in space. It was more than 100 kilometers up.
Well, if you call more than 100 kilometers space.
I mean, everyone does.
And that is the definition of space. So yes, I call more than 100 kilometers up space. Because that's the freaking definition.
PJC, do you want to ask a question, Toon?
Yeah.
If space isn't real, why do all of the satellites in my village point exactly 33 and a half, it's very strange, 33 and a half degrees up into the sky in a direction where there is no towers at all anywhere.
That is an interesting one, because I could say the same. There's something interesting about Starlink, because Starlink satellites are only ever observed in short chains, and they're supposed to be at an altitude of 314 miles away.
Yeah.
And yet those dishes are supposed to be in operation in some parts of the world now, and yet you can't always see those.
Yeah, because they don't have a full complement of, they don't have enough to cover the network yet. They've only, got about 23% of their network up there.
Yeah,
so the coverage isn't always there. But satellite TV, everywhere in the world, every single dish points into space above the equator. On the equator, dishes literally point straight up. Where are they getting their signal from if there is no space with satellites?
I don't know. It could be reflected off something, but I don't know.
Well, we'd be able to see the thing it was reflecting off, right?
But hold on.
Starlink,
hold on.
It has to go for it to provide a service. It has to go. It has to be continuous all around the world, at least in the part where it's giving a service, because it orbits a lot faster than the planet's supposed to rotate, and yet people don't see them all the time, and yet people have observed short chain.
They're not. Yeah, you can only see. You see the chain because that's where they're initially at when they're first launched, and then they spread out more. But people can see them, but the sunlight has to hit them.
Yeah,
to see them.
The same as the ISS. You can only really view the ISS or the Starlink satellites just after sunset or just kind of around sunrise, because that's the only time where the angle of the sun is enough to make you in the darkness but still light up the satellites in space. Once you've moved actually into nighttime, you can't see these things anymore unless they transit the moon or something.
But you always only see short chains of them.
Yeah, there's several short chains,
and then disappear the other side in a short chain of them.
Yeah,
they never appear midway in the sky, like you would expect.
As predicted on a globe.
Flashing off the sun.
No. Not as we'd expect. We do not expect to see them in the middle of the sky at night. We expect to see them only at certain times of day and only in certain locations. And every time that we see them, it completely matches the globe.
Did you know that now 23% of all astronomy pictures taken capture the Starlink train? Last year, it was about 3%. The year before that, it was about 0.2%. But the more satellites they launch, the more it is affecting astronomy photographs, and it's now up to 23% of all astronomy photographs taken capture the Starlink train in some form.
They're supposed to be 340 miles altitude.
Yep.
Which, if you're looking at them at, say, 45-degree angle, that's something 480, is it? Miles away. They're the size of a table.
Okay.
And you can see them with your naked eye.
You can see the light reflecting from them. You can't see the actual satellites.
But then they'd surely appear midway in the sky as they were catching the sun.
No, and midway in the sky, they won't catch the sun. They'll be in the shadow of the Earth. That's why you don't see them.
But you don't see long chains of them.
You only see.
I've seen long chains of them
when they're initially deployed, because that's when they're in long chains, and then you only see them at certain times of day and in certain locations. So unless you've actually done, somebody has done the actual math to say, well, if the satellites are orbiting the Earth, then we should see them here, and we don't see them here, then I would love to see that. But so far, you've just made claims about where you think you should see them or not see them, but it hasn't been based on analysis of their
480 miles away at a 45-degree angle.
Okay.
That's a long way to be able to see something of that size, even if it is reflecting, surely.
Yeah, but
I don't see the
your
problem with
eyes
that.
receive light. Even if just one photon of light hits your eyes, your brain can still technically, detect it. And no matter how far away, the inverse square law means that the amount of light that reaches your eye will never reach zero because it can never reduce to zero. So no matter how far away a source is, even if the thing is too small to see because of angular size, the light coming from it will still reach your eyes. But it doesn't answer the question of where the hell are every satellite TV dish in the world pointing to, because they all point to the same point in the sky. And if there was something there that it was reflecting off, then we could see that, or we could use radar to detect it or something. But there isn't. The only thing that they point at is the geostationary satellites that are in orbit 22,500 miles above the surface of the equator.
So you say, but we don't know for definite.
All right, so we don't know for definite isn't a refutation, actually. A refutation would be, here is what you're actually saying, right? Here's some evidence to the contrary. That's what that's the actual refutation, right? So we don't know for certain is just nuh-uh, or I don't believe it, or an appeal to incredulity, right? So when we're having a logical and rational investigation of things, then same thing. We say, well, does that match the globe or does that match something else? Well, we go to the chalkboard again because it matches the globe. Right? So we don't know for certain. Okay, but we have a long list of things on the chalkboard for the globe, and we still don't have any for flat Earth. Right?
So you say. But
well, I mean, you
I'm not
give
totally
me
convinced
something
about the Starlink. I'd need to find more about that.
Yeah, we'll do the analysis and find. I mean, you probably can find some different places that will teach you how to calculate where and when you should see things based on their orbits, and all of the orbits are public information. There's nothing hidden about where they are, so you can look at whatever number. There's a lot of them up there now. Say, all right, well, let's pick one. Where will it be, and when could I see it?
I mean, it's crazy how many of them there's got to be as well. He says he wants to replace them every 5 years. There's supposed to be thousands of them.
Yep.
Thousands. I mean, I think there's only a handful
Yes.
every launch supposed to be released. I mean, that's
Yep.
like launching every day almost, just to keep them in service. Surely.
Okay.
Seems a bit far-fetched.
But people are actually getting internet service from them.
Is it from them though?
Well, what is it from otherwise? Do you have evidence? That's the problem. There's evidence. People have been to the launches where these satellites have gone up. The satellites have been seen in the sky after the launches. After the launches, the internet service has been available.
And the same guy.
If it's not from the satellites, then what's it from?
And the same guy releases that silly Tesla car into space as well.
I don't know why you had to change
ridiculous.
a topic. Well, let's stick on the same topic instead of deflecting, right?
Elon Musk.
So great. He sent a car into space too. Awesome. But that doesn't affect anything about Starlink. That's the topic of Starlink right now. So what other than satellites in space would provide the internet service to the people that are actually really getting internet service?
We don't know, because we don't know what's really up there. I mean, it could be reflecting off something.
What would it be reflecting off of?
It could be something else up there that's
do you have evidence for that?
We don't know.
Okay, follow the evidence. You don't have evidence, so we don't put any credence into that hypothesis. We do have evidence that there are actual satellites because people have attended the launches. There are videos of the launches. People have seen the satellites in the sky, right? All of these things is supporting evidence for it. And you have exactly zero supporting evidence to the contrary. So the logical and rational position is to say, okay, we have evidence for that. We're going to give another point to the globe. Another piece of evidence supporting the globe. And so saying, well, we don't know what it is, isn't a refutation. It's not a logical and rational position to be in. To just dismiss it because you have, remember, let's not pre-select the conclusion, right? I know that it contradicts the pre-selected conclusion of flat Earth, but let's not pre-select that conclusion. Let's pick what the evidence leads us to, right? So, all right, a question from Steve6464 says, why don't the Flurfs get together, pull your resources and map the Earth or do other such experiments? You talked about, well, you'd have to do something to map the Earth. You'd have to go map it actually. Why don't flat earthers do that?
Imagine the resources required to do that. I mean, it would be absolutely unbelievable.
You would need about 5 boats in 5 years.
It would not be much at all. In fact, if one flat earther said, you know what, everybody fund me, I'm going to go take airplane flights and I'm going to time how long the flights take. And I'm going to do things to try to figure out the speed I'm traveling, right? You could do that and you could just plot together the different cities and confirm that the claimed distances of flights match the actual distances of flights. People could do that. That wouldn't take a whole lot of resources. But nobody has, right?
It's not mapping though, is it? That's just a start.
No flat earther has said, I will take flight QF27 from Sydney to Santiago and see if it matches. They've never done that. They've been offered free flights, but they don't do it. In fact, I will offer, now you don't think the AE map is correct, but so that particular flight isn't as much of a problem for you, but I will offer, I forgot his name. There's a guy, is it Giles? I'm sorry, forget your name. I talk to him every once in a while about this particular challenge that he has issued to people, and I will back that too. Any flat earther, let's put $10,000 into an escrow account. I will, and you do it, and once that money's in there, we will use that money to purchase tickets for QF27. We will also purchase tickets to get there and to get home and hotel. We'll have $20,000 to do it for us. And if that flight does not go into the Northern Hemisphere, I get to keep the remainder. And if the flight does go into the Northern Hemisphere, they get to keep it. Pretty simple. What do you think? Do you think any AE map proponent would take that one?
You asking me?
Yeah.
Not a chance.
You know why? Why won't they?
Because they're going to lose the money.
They know they're going to lose the money. Exactly. Because they don't want to test and find out the actual result. They only will do things that support the pre-selected conclusion. They learned the hard way because of the documentary not to do experiments that don't support your pre-selected conclusion and let
that
people know about it
documentary
afterward.
Could have been set up. We don't know.
Whatever. Incredulity doesn't do much with me. But it goes. It's a bigger. It goes back farther than that because it's very common that flat earthers will say ancient cultures thought the earth was flat, right? You've heard that. And I don't doubt that many ancient cultures thought that. When they started to explore and they started to do what is now called cartography and actually mapping it, they wound up with a map that's not a flat Earth map in the end. So actually, flat earthers have had longer time and more time in the past doing cartography than we have, yet have come up with no map that works. So it's not a very good excuse to say it would be expensive and it would be a lot of resources, because you guys, you flat earthers, were the first to start it. And they gave it up because it didn't work. Right? All right. Caucasian Sensation says, please look this stuff up before you take any advice from Flurfs. It never checks out. Stop falling for this nonsense. And I think that goes back, PJ, to the indoctrination thing. Don't accept things uncritically. If you see a claim, go check it. And we don't know for sure is never a refutation, right? Because all it does is it says, it tells me that you didn't like the conclusion because you had pre-selected something else.
There's one thing I can say though. If we were in a simulation, you wouldn't know that we was on a globe, would you? There's no way. You wouldn't know what we were on, would you? If we was in a simulation.
I guess it depends on the authors of the simulation and what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
Right? If that was the case. Luke Filewalker for £5 says PJCnet is like simulation. I choose you throws Pokeball. You ever play? You're a big Pokemon fan? I choose you. Now, when I read I choose you, I was thinking Ralph Wiggum. Very nice. Very nice one there, Luke. Let's see, hold on. Big, yeah. GRT Hog says, PJC. So you say, was there going to be a debate? In a debate, if you read on like the documentation or the instructions on how to do a debate, it's like, well, you make an argument. An argument has two parts: a claim and evidence, supporting evidence. Right. So far, you've done this part, the claims, right? But you haven't done the evidence part.
Oh God, I tried.
Dear, you tried. You did. All right.
Has anyone actually satisfied yet? And actually that they brought evidence? Ever?
No, because there is none for flat Earth. You know that, and you always fall back to simulation, right? Every time you say simulation, it's an acknowledgement that you don't have evidence. So awesome. I appreciate that. Let's see. All right. Virillion says, PJC, when you have to pick one aspect on that map and disregard the rest, that's cherry picking. True. I'll come back to it. I'm thinking about something I was going to say here, but I can't remember it at the moment. So bass here, or base here, it's BASS. Should I say bass or base? Says for $1.99, RV loaded with tab. Yep, I brought the tab with on vacation. What do you think? Did you think I would have tab with on vacation? I mean, you've seen me in base
advertising it,
drinking tab.
Sponsored by Tab.
I wish they stopped making it. I wish that I actually, the company that makes my Toonshine, I emailed them to see if they'd sponsor me, but they did not even answer. Can you believe it? And do you know who makes my toonshine?
I don't.
You don't? Oh. I thought you might. If you've watched enough, you'd know.
Oh, I can't remember.
You can't remember. Oh, people in the chat. What is toonshine? Who makes my toonshine? Eddie Reese says, if this is a simulation, I have a few suggestions for whomever is coding my life.
Well, let's face it, if this is a simulation, it's still in beta, right?
There's a lot of bugs.
That's the thing, people
No,
looking
I'm
for
kidding.
bugs.
No,
People
I'm
are
kidding.
looking for bugs to try and prove it is a simulation.
Maybe it's not bugs. Maybe it's because you need content creators to write the backstories. That's the problem, right? So poor Eddie Reese, right? Whoever's like writing Eddie Reese's story must just be the slacker.
Bugs are things
talking-
like
Well,
That slacker in school, that guy, he got hired by the simulation company to write backstories for people's lives.
perhaps when people
and
see
is just
ghosts,
doing
it's a
crap
bug.
job.
Well, what I reckon is maybe he's onto something too, because there's times when you walk into a room and then you just totally forget what it was you were doing, right? Well, that's just because whoever's controlling us cancelled our action.
Yep.
Like they were like, right, I'm going to make him go into that room. Oh, actually, no, I'll delete that action. So you've walked into the room, but then you're like, oh, I don't know why I'm here.
They hit escape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got the Mandela effect as well. And that was the other thing I never brought up.
The thing that moved an entire country, according to Flat Earth Thooker.
Nobody in South Africa has the Mandela effect. You know that? About Mandela.
Yeah, everyone else does.
It's only people not in South Africa that thought wrong about Mandela. Strange.
Makes you think it's the media. Something to do with the media, maybe.
I think the
particular
Mandela
one.
effect is absolutely and completely rubbish.
I don't know. I can't say that for definite.
It's just people
I
remembering wrong.
Yeah, I can say that. My confidence about the Mandela effect being rubbish is very high. All right, Facty says for $2.79 Monopoly Canadian dollars. Sorry, it slipped out. Says PJC, where is the simulator in the days of dinos? It's a good question. Where was this? Was the simulation running back when dinosaurs were
That's
kicking
if
around?
that's if
Millions of-
dinosaurs were kicking around.
Are they just the backstory?
Of course.
We don't know. We weren't around.
I've been trying to find a real dino denier to debate dinosaurs on the SC2 show. I cannot find an actual serious dino denier. Every one of them is satire. Somebody posted on a Flat Earth group in Facebook, and I'm like, hey, are you a real dino denier? I want to invite a real one on to debate. And the guy wouldn't even answer me straight, like he was like on acid or something. He just couldn't answer.
Toon, I think you might be onto something with this simulation theory, because what other reason could Australia have a spider with enough venom to kill a herd of elephants? I mean, there's no reason for that to exist, apart from if someone screwed up with one of the numbers during programming, right?
It's true. They well, not programming, because it's different between programming and data entry. That would be a data entry error.
Yeah, so yeah, they're just
Right.
given the
Yeah,
variables for the
they didn't-
character.
The decimal point is shifted 2 spots.
See, warming up to it.
We're actually mocking it, but yeah, you see it how you see it. It's part of your particular simulation. Danny's a member for 2 months. Says, explain that. Explain what? Did
Just
I miss
that.
something? It was a member chat. I'm sorry, Danny. I don't know what needs to be explained, unless maybe that was
Starlink
it.
satellite in the back. Oh, it's a plane.
Behind me?
Plane.
No. Oh no, that's an airplane. That's an airplane.
Toon, I thought you were in Florida. That's clearly the White House behind you.
Yes, obviously. We drove to Palm Beach, and the route to Palm Beach drives right by Mar-a-Lago, which I'm looking at the map. I'm like, oh, I think that's where Trump lives. But he might have been there because there's like the entrance that we drove by, and there's a Secret Service guy like parked sideways in front of the entrance, just sitting there in his big car, like his Escalade that's got modified. You can tell it's not quite the right shape, looks like to me. But I don't know. Anyway,
I figured it out. Wait, I figured it out. I know what Australia is. Australia is just one of those like high-level end game areas where all the NPCs are just like massively OP.
That's right.
All makes sense now.
You have to be level 80 just to go there.
Yeah. Otherwise, the spiders, the little things, are going to kill you.
Yeah, yeah.
There we go. Figured it out.
Or you die of emotional damage.
Emotional damage.
I love that guy.
Yeah.
Brady Photography, who is, by the way, you may notice this, a photographer, says, in regards to the ISS footage, says, I've reviewed it. The moon footage is 100% real. There you go. An expert. All right, Beach 8, member for 26 months.
That's more than twice around the sun.
That is. He says, thanks for taking time on your vacation to spend with us. I'm jelly about the launch and seeing Astronomy Live in Reds. Well, maybe not so much Reds. Yeah, even with the welding goggles, Craig.
Yeah,
I had after it. I had a massive headache.
How many pairs of glasses did you go through?
Just one, just the welding goggles, like.
Right. I mean, normally you don't get sunburn in Florida unless you're near Reds' face.
It was. I thought Astronomy Live was going to be there. I had no idea Reds was going to be there. But he had Astronomy Live had not. Scott is his name. He had not responded to me on Twitter. This was on Sunday, and I'm like, well, maybe he's already there. I figured he was maybe already there, and I went to the spot he told me that was the best spot to go. So we parked, and we walk up, we're walking along, and I see this table set up with all sorts of stuff on it, and I stop, and I'm like,
that's Astronomy Live.
That might be. And I'm like, and I wait for him to turn around, and he looks at me, and he's like, I know you. And I look at him, and I'm like, I kind of know you. I think I've seen him. I don't know. But now I know him. Anyway, so I'm talking to him, and then this voice with so much recognition comes to me. I'm like, that's Reds. It was so cool. It was to hear that voice and just be like, instantly I knew that voice.
It's a very recognizable voice.
Oh, absolutely. And coincidentally, Mike 72, yes, he did. NA for $6.66 says, what percentage of alcohol is Toonshine, and where can I get it? It is the exact same proof as Eric Dubé's 200 proofs.
I get it.
And where can you get it? This was at Walmart. You could get it at Cub Foods in Minneapolis. I've got it at Whole Foods, or as we call Whole Paycheck. Because if you're going to go to Whole Foods, just hand them your paycheck. Yeah, you can get it at any store, basically. IV. I've got it IV.
Jolene says, Toon, did Reds look like you thought he would look? Well, you can't actually tell because Reds has like a, you know that when you have cameras, videos, you're not supposed to see people's faces and they blur the face? Well, Reds just has that naturally. I think it was a government mandated thing to stop all the deaths, but now
PJ, I don't know if you know about Reds. His face is a lethal weapon.
It's banned by the Geneva Convention.
Yeah.
I don't.
You don't know that? All right, he's a legend. He's legendary for that. So yes, well, Beach 8. It's been fun. Yesterday I met Apophis Rex or Astro Rex, depending on his channel. Super nice. He was so nice. He filmed stuff. I was right next to me the whole time, and then we went out to after that for a quick bite to eat. It was pretty cool to meet him there. So I don't see him in the chat, but thank you. And I did not get his email address or contact info, and all I have is his channel, which he doesn't list his email address on. So if anybody knows how to contact Apophis Rex or Astro Rex, let me know. And if that's you, Rex, contact me. Thank you for meeting me yesterday. That was fun. Let's see. PJ, we've got a couple more questions for you here.
Okay.
Elon, let's see, Pilo 1408 says, Elon Musk says we live in a simulation. PJC Net believes him. Elon Musk says he sends things to space. PJC Net says he lies. There's a little inconsistency problem there, PJ.
There is. Perhaps he knows something we don't, and he's not sending things into space. Maybe that's why he's. Maybe that's why.
But how is he getting internet access to everybody?
Don't know.
Okay, don't know. Back to don't know. All right. Junk Shop Library for $5 says, is a most impressive hologram the new there's something wrong with that laser? There's something wrong with that laser. Yes, that a most impressive hologram. You can feel the hologram in your chest. Oh, so cool. If you can get to a rocket launch, go. Oh, and the cool thing is they're very common. They're planning about 50 just for SpaceX this year. So let's see. Stringer News 1 says, hold on, we're in a simulation and space is fake? Crappy simulation can't even simulate space. I want my tokens back. Yeah, I would think that simulating space would be the easy part of a simulation because there's not much there to simulate. Right?
Well, that's the
What do
thing.
you think, PJ?
You don't know whether you can get into space. You probably can't.
I mean, 517 people would disagree.
These eyes saw a rocket go to space yesterday.
And I saw NASA install those eyes.
Yes.
Well, we're back to this karma lie. But I wouldn't say, well, yeah, if you want to call that space.
Hold on, we're talking about caramelizing. Is
Karma
this
lie.
When did this turn into the Great British Bake Off? Where's Noel? I love him. He's the best. Love Noel.
Oh no, my cat's getting up.
So,
all right.
PJCnet, if it is a simulation, why could it not just be a simulated globe?
Well,
that's a great
it's
question.
more difficult to simulate a globe.
I'd say it's more difficult to simulate a flat plane because that defies the way that physics appear to be programmed in this simulation.
Yeah, the simulation has a whole bunch of physics in the physics engine that matches the globe, but doesn't match flat, and somehow it's flat, you think. So, and it's not actually any more or less difficult to simulate any particular shape in a simulation. It's just math in a simulation, right?
Yeah. Like you either have the equation for the volume of a sphere or the area of a circle.
I'm a developer. I write software, and I can tell you it would be significantly more difficult to have it be one shape and then fake that it's a different shape than to just have it both be the shape and appear to be the shape.
I wonder, that's one thing I was actually looking into, but I couldn't figure it out. Flight Simulator 2020. I wonder whether they simulate on a flat plane and then make it look like a globe.
No,
when you get higher.
They actually did an entire documentary about that. That it is, you can see it on the Xbox dashboard. They based the data for Flight Simulator 2020 on real life flight data and real life mapping data. It's the first time that they've used actual real mapping data for the globe to simulate, because they want to simulate the entire planet and the physics and the way that you would fly actually properly. And what's the name of the datum that they used? I can't remember.
WGS-84?
That's the one. They used WGS-84 as kind of their reference point for what they would map everything onto, and that is a datum that's a geoid, a sphere. And they make a very big deal about how they used a lot of NASA's data, mapping data from space, infrared imaging and stuff, to actually map the land and everything properly in the way that air currents would move. So Flight Simulator 2020, they claim, is based on reality, which they say is a globe.
There you go.
We don't definitely. I'd have to check that.
We go to the chalkboard there and go, another one for the globe. All right. Connell Silver for $5 says, you've had literal months to prepare, and excuse after excuse about how you're not prepared. How are you not prepared now, PJC Net?
I did try.
I'm not prepared.
Let me get you. You know you can't do it better than this.
My first question is always send the evidence, and you didn't.
You know, no one's managed to do any better.
I'm not prepared for that.
PJ, are you still blocked on Awake Souls and Limitless's channels?
I am. And what was
they
funny?
What was funny? They still think you're a shill.
Yeah. What was funny was I went and I left. I didn't have me blocked on the Limitless channel. So when I went on, I went on there, and I thought, well, it's something really nice, nothing nasty, really pleasant. And I came back and I went into an incognito window, and there I am, shadow banned. They've like shunned me completely. They don't want to know me now.
You've received the shunning. Well, PJ, I don't ban people unless they're extremely rude, and there's like 2 or 3 people only. So you're always welcome on my channel.
Yeah.
I think it's hilarious that they think you are the NASA shill assigned to their channel.
I thought I was a shill for Jay assigned to their channel. They said it's because I was coming in regularly every night, late at night. And I said, you know, who would get up every night and be there? That's what.
Somebody that likes them. I guess when you are such a horrible, terrible person like Jason and Ronnie, they are unused to somebody actually liking them.
Oh no, I've got a fan.
As I watched,
this isn't right.
I watched that video where the video where on Jason's channel where he banned you. What a jerk. What a complete jerk. I can't believe after that you would still think any of their garbage has any merit. PJ, what are you doing, man?
Earth's not flat.
You're killing me, Smalls. All right. Geist View, $5 says, how does my observation and experience at Amundsen Scott Station at the South Pole and McMurdo Station, 2017 to 2019, match the flat Earth idea?
I'm not sure. I'd have to explain that.
Well, he's been to the South Pole.
Yeah, you can go to the South Pole on Ronnie and Jason's map. It's just not on the AE map.
There you go. Now,
it's not really the pole, but there you go. Yeah, pole is globe.
What do Ronnie and What do Ronnie and Jason say is a necessity for a map?
Necessity.
Yeah, it has to be what feature does the map have to have?
Do you mean flat, accurate,
Well, outside from that,
working?
yeah. There's a couple things that they say that the AE map doesn't have that they say must have.
Oh, the AE map. You can't have. There's loads of things wrong with it. Like, for instance, there's two star rotations, and there's not on the AE map.
Simulation. Keep going.
None of the observations match.
It's just
the distances don't match in the south.
Simulation.
The distances don't match in the south.
Keep going.
People have actually been around the whole of Antarctica.
Every single thing that they don't like about the AE map can be hand waved away by just saying simulation, just like you have done with all of the problems that their map has. Like distances don't work. Right? It's the same
quite
thing.
the same.
How is it not the same? Every single problem that anybody could say about the AE map, I could just say, but it's just a simulation.
Because they're trying to get a map that's as accurate as possible on a flat plane, but based on what we really observe.
But they didn't. Their map is just as much of a failure as the AE map. Every test that I did on it, it failed at. So it's just as much of a failure. But that's aside the point. I was actually looking for a particular word that they talk about when Jason was on my channel. Do you remember that word that describes the map? It's about having two poles.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Stereographic.
There you go.
Yeah.
So Ronnie and Jason say the map must be a stereographic map, right?
And you're saying that map's not.
Hey, Craig, can you bring up the second Wikipedia article I sent you on that page? Yeah, so Ronnie and Jason say you must have a stereographic map, right? And their map, so if we look at the actual stereographic projection on Wikipedia, says in geometry, the stereographic projection is a particular mapping function that projects a sphere onto a plane. The projection is defined as the entire sphere, except at one point, the projection point. When it is defined, the mapping is smooth and bijective. It is conformal, meaning it preserves angles at which curves meet. It is neither isometric nor area preserving. That is, it preserves neither distance nor the area of figures. Now go to the other one, Craig. The first one, the stereographic map projection. And I'll drop this in the chat here for everybody. I'll read this for you. You got that up? You're looking at it? It says, the stereographic projection, also known as the planisphere projection or azimuthal conformal projection, is a conformal map projection whose use dates back to antiquity. Here's the thing. Jason says that the map must be a stereographic map. Jason also says that it cannot be the azimuthal equidistant map. That doesn't work because the azimuthal equidistant map is a stereographic map. And the oblique Mercator projection map is not a stereographic map. So Jason can't make up his own mind about which map he wants to use. Should it be a stereographic map? Then it's got to be the AE map. Does it not need to be a stereographic map? Then his map would be the one that he would pick. Maybe you could ask him which. Oh, you can't ask him.
He must have got mixed up.
Clearly, he got mixed up. He doesn't know what stereographic.
I think he knows.
Is.
I think he just got mixed up.
Stereographic does not mean it has to have two poles of rotation. That's a different thing. All right. That's your guy. I mean, this is the map that you did, and he doesn't even know the word that he's using to describe the map. He's not much of an expert. I would not say that he's very, very expert. All right. Milky 60 for 50 Donkey Kong dollars says, if it's not a simulation, why am I sending you Donkey Kong credits? I called him Donkey Kong dollars, not credits. I called him Donkey Kong dollars before I knew what he was going to say. I did not pre-read that. Awesome. Thank you, Milky. You got me. Zoomy for $2 says, Yellow Lantern Sector 2814 here. Earth is round. Thank you, Zoomy. I mean, Yellow Lantern. Zoomy, goofball. What, Craig, what's this Yellow Lantern garbage?
Yellow lanterns are powered by the universe's collective.
That's all.
Fear.
Don't care.
It's part of the emotional, spectrum that powers the lantern cores. Yellow is fear, green is willpower, blue is hope, purple, red is rage, pink is love, purple is empathy, white is life, black is death. You don't know this, and you call yourself a man of science. For God's sakes.
Of all, I know Green Lantern is your favorite, Craig. And yes. I will still be your friend, despite that.
Green Lantern could beat up Batman.
He'd have to exist first. Batman does.
I'm Batman.
All right. Hessifer for $4.99 says, I know Kung Fu. That's from The Matrix, by the way. When he got the programmed in how to know Kung Fu. Okay. PJ, can you do your Keanu Reeves I know Kung Fu?
Oh, I don't think so.
No?
I know Kung Fu.
How about that? I love that. See, you like that movie was so good. You want there to be more, but then they did 2 and 3. Just didn't. Grithog for $5 says, any minute now I expect to hear, thank you, sir. May I have another? Do you get that, PJ? No? You haven't watched enough military movies. There's a moped. That's a funny looking thing. It's the smallest little moped scooter thing. He's sitting on it. He's got a helmet on. Good for him. But that little moped was working hard to move. And by the way, somebody is speaking for me on there. Yeah, see, look at that. NA says Green Lantern is almost as lame as Hawkeye. And me, I responded with NA. Get out.
I was on the wrong screen.
Yeah, somebody's on the wrong screen responding, putting words in my mouth. All right. PJC Net from Mystery Night for the Children. What is the sign of 90 degrees? Now, that's not an astrological sign, by the way.
Sign for 90 degrees?
Yes.
Well, it's just a right angle, so I don't know what the sign is. It's just 2 lines at a right angle.
No.
It's talking about a trigonometric function, the sine.
Yeah. SINE.
Oh. For 90 degrees?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't get you. You mean the...
If you times
You mean that?
sine by 90, what do you get?
Yeah. If you do so,
If you times sine by 90, what do you get?
times sine by 90.
Yeah.
No, take this.
Take the
sine
sine of 90.
of 90 degrees. Yeah. What do you get?
Take the sine of 90 degrees.
Yeah.
Yes.
What, an L?
Yeah. No, not an L. 90 degrees. Just 90. Plug 90 degrees into the sine function.
Yeah, you got sine cos tan. You know,
I can't remember.
Yeah, or you could do.
Since I was at school, I used to do
it's
that.
one, isn't it?
Solving triangles.
You could if you. Craig, I know the problem.
I'm 52 years old.
He prefers radians. Do pi over 2 to the sine of pi over 2. It's 1. The answer is 1. It's a trigonometric function, and you use them to do trigonometry.
Which I used to be able to do when I was at school in the teens. But now I'm 52 and I haven't needed...
It's taught in the United States. It's taught briefly in middle school, and then in high school it's covered for 2 years. It's covered in both geometry and algebra 2.
But most people don't, and if they do, they just look it up, and now a computer can do it for them.
Yeah. I'd show you my trigonometric slide rule if I were at home, but I'm not at home. I didn't bring it with me on my vacation, unlike some things that I bring with me on my vacation. Untap. All right, Serial 510 says for $2 says there are people trying to get Tab brought back. Oh, I hope not. Gross. That's why. What for the super chat? What comedian drank Tab while doing his stand-up? Come on.
I haven't got a clue.
I'm watching this the chat here. No, nothing yet. Do you think, Craig, do you think anybody's gonna get it? Do you know the answer, Craig?
I do not know the answer, no.
No? It might be it's not Will Smith, Mallory. It's not Stephen Wright. It's not Seinfeld. Wow. Oh, Zoomy got it. Zoomy got it. I was starting to think nobody would get it. Zoomy. Well done, Zoomy. It is Bobcat Goldthwait. Who, if you've, I don't know if he was in a few movies, but he starred in a movie called Shakes the Clown. Somebody go watch it and then talk to me. We'll create a Shakes the Clown channel in Discord. And you'll know I have incorporated some Shakes the Clown content into what I say here. All right, Ian Dust for 20 Australian says bug report, pain level of cut finger due to paper is unreasonably high. Please fix. You see, I would say that's probably a data entry error as well in the simulation. Do you hear plane going over me? And Zoomy says, hold on. Yes, he was in Police Academy. Mute Donkey loves Shakes the Clown. All right, Mute Donkey. Mute Donkey is my guy. Zoomy says, message is fighting Dex Star sucks. He keeps cheating.
Yeah, that's
what's
because
that about?
Well, Dexstar was the first Red Lantern of Sector 2814 to come from Earth. Just happened to be a cat.
I'm sorry.
As the Red Lanterns are powered by rage, this cat was abandoned by its family. It was like a stray, and then it was beaten by its adoptive family and stuff. So it was really angry. and attracted the Red Ring, and became the first Red Lantern of Earth. And then became the leader of the Red Lanterns, Atrocitus. They became his sidekick. He wears the ring on his tail.
Oh my gosh.
Unfortunately, once you wear the red ring, it replaces your blood with a red plasma. So if you ever take the ring off, you just die.
PJ, how do I mute him? He has controlled the call. All right. Exist Dissolved for $5 says, I've been to Florida twice for SpaceX launches. Scrubbed both times. Glad you got to see it, though. Oh,
I think you skipped NA there as well.
Skipped what?
You skipped a super chat.
Oh, from NANA? I did it before where NANA asked about what percentage the Toonshine is, and I said it's the same proof as Eric Dubé's 200 proofs.
I mean, you're going to get out of it in a bit there.
Get out of it?
It's a British out of it drunk.
Oh, well, what proof? How many proofs is in Eric Dubé's 200 proofs?
I'm having a joke.
I will.
I know what you mean.
Yes. 0. The number is 0. 0 proof. So, all right. Hessafar says for $4.99, I think gravity broke my previous super chat. Well, hold on.
Nah, that was Dropity.
Could have been Dropity. Oh, was it copy pasted wrong? Was that the one? No, that was Danny. I'm scrolling back. I know I said Hessifer earlier because I said it. All right. Hessifer. I'm searching. Oh, he said I know Kung Fu. There's 2 super chats from Hessifer that I see. I know Kung Fu, and I think gravity broke my previous super chat. There it is. I have them all. A couple weeks ago, I had a problem where Craig, you get this too, right? YouTube's super chat interface is crap.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So
if you change any setting during the stream, it gets rid. You can't see the super chats that are coming before you change those settings, and then you have to go into your dashboard, into your supers, and then like scroll up the list to see who's super chatted for that day. It's really annoying.
Yeah, so I used if this then that to post them all to my Discord server, and then I can mark them when I've done them because I don't want to miss them. They're the fun. Here's a good one, PJ, for you. It says, from Bill McGuire, if this is a simulation, then the super chat isn't real, and you've been talking to yourself all night. Checkmate, PJC Net.
You can have nested simulations.
It's nested.
How much RAM is this simulation got?
Simulations.
Right, hold on. If this is a simulation, right, is every single person on Earth being simulated, or is there just a few that are actually fully simulated with the rest just being NPCs?
That's a good question.
Because that would be an awful lot of processing power.
I think most people are, most, if not all, are genuine, as in they've got a soul, consciousness, individual consciousness.
Wait, how can they have that as a simulation?
Simulations
because an NPC wouldn't have
souls.
Well, your body.
I just hit a 404 here. A simulation has a soul.
No, the soul isn't part. That is like your consciousness, and your body is what is allowing you to exist in this simulation. It's like your avatar.
Okay, so where is the soul? Is it in is it on an SSD? Is it in high-speed DRAM or like SRAM, so it's faster?
Your soul
like
doesn't appear to. Soul doesn't seem to exist in this realm. Science can't pick it up, but it must exist, mustn't it? Because if it didn't, what makes you see through your eyes? What makes you you? If somebody else was exactly the same as you, opposite you, you would still be seeing them.
Philosophical here, people.
From your body, wouldn't you?
And have you seen Inception? Oh yeah, nested. So when, if you're in a sim and then that simulation makes a simulation, is the parent simulator going to say, now screw that, we're using our CPU time to simulate another simulation? Forget that, we're just going to shut them off. What do you think?
Well, I doubt it.
You doubt it?
You can play computer games now where you can play a simulation in a simulation.
Dude, what's the carbon footprint of the simulation that we're in? Come on, that's got to be like crazy. So, all right, people help me. There's a book. It's a short book about a computer that gains that has the ability to transport. It was a wireless communication thing, but it was able to transport things like matter in the end. And so it replicated itself a bunch of times, gained sentience, and started communicating with all of the people on Earth. It introduced itself. What's the name of that book?
Don't know, but that sounds an awful lot like Skynet.
I don't believe you can get sentience just from physical matter.
Am I not physical matter?
Yes, but you're not just physical matter. You've got a spirit or a soul as well.
Wait,
Because
I've got a ghost
if
in
you
me?
were
Oh, that's spooky.
No, if you were duplicated and they were able to completely recreate you with exactly the same atoms, you would still be sitting there.
Well, I am clone 3742, so, I mean...
And the only difference is, it would be your
Does each of my
soul.
clones have a soul?
Wait, that's a good question. But does only the first one, and you pull down your eyelid to see if you're the first one, right?
It's difficult to know if you created a clone whether it would inherit a soul.
Does it maybe it gets a copy pasted soul, and then it diverges from there? Can that happen?
I mean, and you've seen what happens when you
saying.
copy and paste things too many times, right?
Yes, I saw multiplicity as well. Yes, is it Neuromancer? Yes, it is. I think the book Neuromancer is this, I'm reading this here. No, it is not. It is not Neuromancer. That's not the book I'm thinking of. Dog, it was a short story and like only one. It's been a long time since I read it. I don't think anybody.
It's one big thing that science can't understand.
Can't understand what?
We can't understand consciousness. Why are you conscious inside you? Why are you you?
But
Science
are you
Science
but are
doesn't
you
know
really
that.
conscious? Maybe you're just a butterfly having a dream. Maybe all of this just didn't exist until last Thursday. You ever think of that? Right?
There's a theory that says if anyone ever figured out the actual true nature of the universe would just reset itself and come back in a more complex form. There's another theory that states this has already happened many times.
Yep. All right, let's get back. Pat G for $5 says, PJ, kudos for actually coming on. You're cordial despite being woefully misinformed. PMNC Tune, follow the white rabbit and watch out for the iguanas. Follow the white rabbit's a Matrix thing. Alyssum for $2 Australia says there are no flat earthers. Only simulations. What if, Craig, what if it is a simulation and it's a globe and all of the flat earthers are just NPCs? What do you think?
I think I'd like to go to a different region and start some new quests, please.
Yes, please. I don't know if you ever play those games where it's like, you need to get your XP up, and you're like, you go to the person's got the question mark above their head. You go to them. They're like, "Oh, go out here and collect 17 donkey lips." Okay.
Hi, I'm Greg the Onion Farmer. Please help me. My sheep are running amok.
Yep. Go get the donkey lips. That was World of Warcraft. Definitely. Lael says for $5 tune, why have you not banned yet? I'm the rudest person and a king of the flurfs. Lael, you're not actually that rude. I'm sorry. And being rude isn't enough. Being rude is fun. I like it when people come in and they're rude. Right? So, all right. Alyssum says, PJCnet, you should have kept up with basic geometry and trig. You would never have fallen for flat Earth. That's a great idea, right? Because PJCnet, you didn't come into flat Earth with simulation theory. You came into flat Earth the way they all do. Dubai's 200 proofs video, right?
It started with Dubai, but then I didn't believe him after a bit.
So you watched that and all of those things in that video, none of them are correct. None of his 200 claims there are actually correct. When you look at them, they're all wrong. Right. But if you knew the basic geometry and trig, you wouldn't, if you've watched that, you would have done what I did. You would have said, oh, that's just a bunch of crap. None of that is right. You never would have fallen for flat Earth. But you fell for it. You can come out. PJ, we welcome you when you're ready. And we will continue to
fuck you.
enjoy
We don't like you. Stay away. Wait, no, I'm kidding. Sorry.
I love that they think that Jason thinks you're a shill. I just love that. Oh, it's so crazy. All right, NANA for $6.66. It says airplane. They are watching you.
They don't need airplanes to watch you. They've already got the bird drones for it.
It's this guy standing right here. He's been there the whole time. Just sitting there. Glasses on. Sunglasses on.
Guy, you've been spotted. You've been spotted. Can you change location? You've been spotted.
Yeah.
He's all right. He should be leaving now.
All right. Oh, he is.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Thanks for that. NA again says, FTFE, I have problems sleeping. Do you have a video on the origins of those lanterns?
There is many, actually.
He's having trouble sleeping. Did you get that part?
Yes, I did. I did get that. Just if you're having trouble sleeping, just read any comic from Marvel.
There's sprinklers.
Are you getting wet?
Not yet. I hope not. There's a sprinkler right there. Like if it turns, I don't think it's going to go far enough.
That would be brilliant.
Great. That'd be great. The sprinkler gets me. I saw them. I saw like stuff down there. I thought, what is that? But now I know. But all right. That's funny. Planer Walk is here for $2 New Zealand dollars. Says talk about all the different Flash timelines.
Okay, so originally, obviously, Jay Garrick. Was
sarcasm.
But then you had
you
start the first time you had multiple flashes was in the Flash of Two World storyline, where
Help me.
Barry Allen was the other Flash, and they actually crossed over universes for the first time. Obviously, then you had all the multiverses split up, but then you had the Crisis on Infinite Earth, which reset it to the new 52, which means there was only 52 universes. And in that you had Earth 1, which contained all the Golden Age characters like Jay Garrick and everything, but with new continuities.
All right, that's good. Thank you.
I could go on. I didn't even get to Rebirth.
Oh, All right, thank you for that. Planar walk. I'll talk to you later about that. Lissom says for $2. What's the FTFE? What's the color for cringe?
There isn't a ring color for cringe.
Can we make one now?
Yeah, because with flat earthers, I imagine there'd be quite a lot, and we could get quite a powerful quite a powerful core going. So, yeah, I'll get to work on that. Just let me speak to the Guardians of Oa.
All right. We've got one from James Weber says for $5, SDS 134. Just show the video of it and be done. That would be, I got to look that up here. It is the second to last shuttle mission, which I think is the one I was, the previous launch I was at. Let me see when it was. May 2011. I don't know. It might have been the previous one that I saw. One of the last three I saw. That one was more. I don't know if we're closer or not, but you could feel the heat. There's a lot more engines there. You'd feel the heat on your face of STS 134. Craig, do you have that handy? I don't.
No, sorry, I do not. I failed you. I failed you, Toon. I'm so sorry.
All right. Yes. Well, PJC Net, if we showed you a video of the space shuttle going up, what would you say?
What would I say?
Simulation.
Well, you can't see it going into space, can you, on the video? Well, if you do, well, you don't actually, not from the ground, you don't. So you don't really know what they're showing you once it's over a certain altitude.
So here's the thing, right? You can actually look at the footage and see that it's gone into space because you can see the gas exhaust coming out of the rocket, and as it takes off, that is quite a constrained blast of fire underneath it. But the higher the rocket goes, the more that gas tail behind the rocket expands. The reason for that is the lower density and lower pressure of the air that it's in. And the higher it goes, the more that expands until it gets to a point where the pressure is so low that it literally expands in all directions instantaneously. And that is when you can literally tell from the ground that you've seen it go into space.
And I saw that with my own eyes.
And what altitude would that be that you last saw it?
Well, when the pressure is
very high. Yeah, you don't know from how quickly the gases expand at what exact altitude it's at. But you know that where it's at has extremely low air pressure, near zero air pressure, because of how the gases behave.
10 to the negative 17 torr. Which is a positive number.
All right. Yep. Well, that's a good question, PJC Net. Is 10 to the negative 17 a positive or negative number? Craig's already given you the answer.
10 to the negative 17.
Yes.
Yes.
Positive.
Okay.
All right.
So if I have a triangle of sides 1, 1, and 1, how many sides does the triangle have?
Triangle's got 3 sides.
And what would be the internal angles?
45 degrees.
Oh.
No, 60 degrees, sorry.
Hey,
good.
Getting tired, it's getting late.
All right.
It
What is 5 divided by 0?
Infinity.
I'll accept that.
Can't compute, in other words.
Not a number or undefined is the more appropriate, but I like infinity myself because I'm going to take the limit of 1 over x as x approaches 0. How about that? Okay. And then the derivative of x squared with respect to x.
The derivative of x squared.
With respect to x.
Square
2x.
root.
2x. Stringer 1 says nested simulations is for the birds because we all know that birds are fake. Jane Doe says for $4.99, if this is all simulation, I have a huge bone to pick with the programmers. Hey, it's not the programmers. It's the data entry people.
Yeah. The people running using the engine.
Somebody else, yeah. They're just the programmers. We do it. You can't blame us. It's anyway. 3Ron for $2 says she touched my pee-pee tune. What's the heck's that about, 3Ron?
Do you need an adult?
I think so. I just plowed into that. I didn't really pre-read that. I guess I need to add 3Ron to the pre-read list. All right. UKPL or PI says for £2. Is that why my world is pixelated or just brandy?
What?
Pixelated.
I mean, alcohol doesn't tend to make it pixelated, more swirly.
Talking about pixelated, well, I haven't really looked into it, but there was a shadow after the solar eclipse, I believe, where people claim that the shadows were like pixels. I haven't really looked into it enough to claim anything. It could be explained.
It's all simulation. Definitely simulation. That's all. Planar Walk says PJC Net. Do all animals have souls?
That's a difficult question, most probably. But then you could go down. You could say, does a fly have a soul? It's difficult to know. But
do the NASA drone birds have souls?
Normal birds most likely do.
Yeah, but what about the drone birds? Because, birds aren't real.
Birds are real.
They are?
No, don't be silly.
Since when?
Do you have any empirical evidence that there's ever been birds in real life? I don't think so.
Kid.
Exactly.
Well, they're birds as real as far as we're real.
Checkmate.
Far as we're real.
All right. Also, from Planar Walk, do we have two souls, or do split-brained patients get another soul for their second personality?
That is actually a possible one. If they're actually hearing voices, they are possibly possessed with a second entity.
That leads me to another question, PJ. What do the voices in your head tell you?
I don't hear external voices.
I think he doth protest too much, methinks. The Sun Express for $5 says, MC June, please be extra careful on the drive home. We are getting pounded by snow in Chicago. I'm leaving. We today's Tuesday. We leave on Thursday, and we'll get back to Minnesota area on Sunday. So if you're getting pounded today, Tuesday, hopefully the snow will be gone by then. But yes, my work is flexible enough, and we're in a camper, and well, no fun camping in snow, but we can definitely.
Can't be that cold where you are, because you can't even see your breath.
No, I'm in Florida right now, and so it's pretty nice. It's probably about 50 degrees, and we do freedom units here. So, it was in the 70s today. Tomorrow's supposed to be almost 80. So, thank you for that, Sun Express. I will look out for that. James Weber for $5. FTFE in your Discord is the STS 134 video. Oh, dude,
is it?
Cue that up. Thank you. We'll look at that after. I'll read this one from Planar Walk for $2 New Zealand dollars for everyone, including MC's Tune and FTFE. What is 0 to the power of 0?
Same as the sine of 90 degrees.
Indeed. It is. An anomaly of math. That 0 to the power of 0 is 1. Good question there. That's a good one.
Some people would say it's 0.
But they'd be wrong.
Because it's 0 to start with. It doesn't matter how many. It's a difficult one.
Okay. All right. 3 Ron for $2 says it's from Multiplicity. The movie Multiplicity. And it's Pay, not PP. Let me read it again. Then she touched my Pay. Okay. Thank you for that. Tim Pryor says, are flat earthers still believing that they're smarter than billions, including all the world's genesis?
Yep.
Genius. He meant geniuses. Do you think that flat earthers are smarter than scientists, PJ?
It's a different thing. It's a different thing altogether. And as I was saying, there's a lot of scientists that are actually looking and actually taking simulation hypothesis actually very seriously. It isn't just flat earthers.
Yeah.
It's been taken very seriously in the scientific community.
Okay.
I think
Not
that
really.
anyone in a very high professional job would be committing career suicide by saying they believed in flat Earth. So they're not likely to say it.
Well, as they should, because there's no evidence for it. As you agree, right? All right. So misspelling genius as Genesis, intentional or not, reminds me of something. I do this thing. I like Phil Collins. I've liked his stuff for a long time. I like the band Genesis. Only the Phil Collins part. The Peter Gabriel stuff is fine, but I don't like it as much as Phil Collins' part. I've done this thing with my kids for a while where if we're out somewhere and we hear a song where Phil Collins is singing, and my kid asks me, hey, is this Phil Collins? I'll give him $1. I'll give him $1. And if I hear a Phil Collins song, I try to get my wallet out, right? And I'll hopefully have $1. Be like, oh. And I'll just have it in my hand, just ready to go, like this, right? So like we were in a Duluth Trading Company store a while ago, and I had this in my hand ready to go, and my kid comes up and he goes, is this Phil Collins? I go, whap! There you go. And so today we were at McDonald's. We're sitting at McDonald's. They're playing music at McDonald's, and a song comes on. It's from the '80s, and it's not a Phil Collins song. And I very just overtly, I pull out $1 from my wallet, and my son, my one kid, who's terrible at identifying Phil Collins songs, he's never got $1 from it. He goes, "Is this Phil Collins?" I go, "Nope." I put it back in my wallet.
He's actually still touring. He's actually doing a tour. Phil Collins is. He's not very well. He's not very well there. He can't play the drums anymore.
Yeah, well,
I think
Phil Collins had to take some time off. Phil Collins had to take some time off to play the character of Conspiracy Cats.
Well, Phil Collins isn't very well, but he's still touring.
Of all the bands I've seen hundreds of concerts, literally hundreds of concerts. I've never seen Phil Collins, and I would just love to. So, Tim Pryor, who previously wrote, including do flat earthers think they're smarter than billions, including all the world's genesis, said, my bad, using talk to text and drinking vodka Red Bull. Oh, that's funny. Oh my. All right. Do we have that video, Craig?
Yeah, I was just trying to. It's quite a long video, so I didn't know exactly where he meant.
Oh yeah. We don't want to do a super long one. UKPL says for £2, Phil Collins is just a simulation. No. If anybody is real, if there's only one real person, it's Phil Collins. How do you, all right, PJ, how do you get a Peter Gabriel era Genesis person really angry?
I don't know. Go on.
You tell him that the best Genesis song ever is Illegal Alien. That's how.
Phil Collins is better than Peter Gabriel.
Yep. So, yeah,
I want to listen to Phil Collins now.
Oh, yeah. But there's... I'm waiting in the chat to see if anybody's offended by that. But there's not any Peter Gabriel era fans watching currently.
Oh, John Fox 17
John Fox
says,
is
I'm offended, sir.
John Fox is offended. All right. Yeah, what part of the video should be played? Oh, Earthrise says them is fighting words. Dave Cernick says hit him with a sledgehammer. You see, Sledgehammer is a song by Peter Gabriel after he left for Nevermind. Genetics, a bunch of DNA splicers with a really good drummer. Neil Peart. There, Brady Photography likes Peter Gabriel. And Stellarium Celestia. Yep. Phil Collins' wife is offended. Which? He's had a few. I'm just making up some time while Craig is finding the video.
Well, I've got the video ready. It's just I don't know which part he meant because it's like a half-hour video.
Oh yeah, that's too much.
Give us a hand here. I'll share it in the chat so people can go and have a look.
We've got Dave Fear for $2 says, how much do you give them for Van Halen song? PJ, are you a fan of the Van Halen belts?
Van Halen belts or Van Halen belts?
No, the Van Halen belts in space.
I don't know what they are. I mean, it could be something that they can't actually go through. That they actually say we don't know. We don't really know.
Well, we do know, but you don't know. But James Van Halen knows.
This is the point that he gave me the timestamp of.
Okay. This is is this the booster?
Yeah, it's the full ride on the shuttle boosters. That's just as they're starting their re-entry.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I've watched this one. I think it's a ground to space and back.
Yeah.
Video.
Yeah, from the beginning.
I mean,
they launch. You can watch them launch all the way from right at the ground, and it goes all the way up. And you can kind of see what I was talking about because you can see the fire here is kind of like you can see it quite well, but as you get up to here, you can see it's more spread out. And the more it goes up, the more kind of spread out this flame becomes because it's in space.
Yeah. It's pretty cool how it does that.
Yeah.
Bite Mahagus says no cartoon. You don't know.
Oh,
I
him.
believe. Who is he? Who's Bite Mahagus? Is he serious?
His Papa Furf is Dell.
Oh.
Show me something tangible.
Deadly Dave is wondering, PJ, why did they simulate the shape of the Earth to be a globe and not a cube or anything else?
They've got to simulate it to something. But the thing is, on the ground, on the ground level, it appears to be flat.
But it doesn't. It doesn't even appear to be flat when you measure it. There's all these things
maybe not
that
when you
look,
do certain experiments.
I was at the beach today. There's a sailboat, and a tall one, like a good sized sailboat. And as it went farther away, more and more of it got obstructed bottom up. That's what we expect on a globe. It's not what we expect on a flat Earth. So it doesn't actually appear flat in any way at all. Right?
We could go into lots of things with that.
We could.
I mean, there's obviously, well, you say refraction only works one way.
Well, no, I don't say that.
Andrew Thomas
Most
Young
of the time.
says that, really, but, you know.
Yeah.
But then there's...
refraction causes light to bend towards the higher index of refraction.
Even on a flat Earth.
Yeah, even on a flat Earth.
But then we've got... I mean, Ronnie and Jason have actually come up with an explanation for the object going over the curve.
Hold on, let me guess. Is it simulation?
They believe in the simulation, but it's not just simulation. I mean, they actually they've shown, I've forgotten what they call it now. True perspective, they call it. And I have made a video. It's on the Limiteds channel.
So they made up something to support the pre-selected.
No, they
conclusion.
went to a mall called, well, Mall Angel, and they made a video where they put a camera on the floor. But
Yeah,
I know
saw
what you're
that.
going to claim. You're going to say the floor wasn't really flat.
Absolutely. Did they do anything to confirm the actual margin of error of the flatness of that floor? They did nothing. They just declared that it must be flat. That's it. That's all they did.
I can't ask them anymore, so.
Yeah.
Just create
They
a
don't
sock
like
account and go in.
Only we
Just
like,
start talking
only
about
we
how
like
that
you
PJC
anymore.
Net is a shill. God, I hate him.
All right. Well, where's Bite Mahagus? Dude, Bite Mahagus, you got to come on here, man.
Oh, he won't. I've timed him out because he's just a bit of a Dell troll.
Really? Aw. Yeah, it says I wait.
Yeah, I was on the wrong screen again. Sorry.
Yeah. All right, Bite Mahagus, you are invited on. Right here, bring your evidence. And if you say simulation, I'm just going to tell you that PJC.
No, he's just going to say, I don't have the burden of proof, you globe-tired.
Oh. He'll make claims and then say that he doesn't make claims. Is that the claim? Is that the one?
Yeah. Yep, classic.
All right. Well, PJ, it's been 3 hours.
It has. It's nearly 5 o'clock here.
Yeah, it is.
All
I
right.
have to get up in 2 hours with my kids.
I need to let you go.
No, it's been good, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks to Craig for producing, because it's the same time for Craig as it is for you, PJ.
Yeah, thank you.
No worries.
And thank you to everybody who's watched and members of Super Chats.
You said you'd speak to Karen at HR about the promotion for me if I produced for you. Are you still going to do that, or?
Yeah. Well, have you ever talked to Karen at HR at NASA?
No, I'm not allowed in there anymore after the incident with the microwave.
Yeah, I mean, she's appropriately named, so I don't know if I really want to bother myself to talk to her about getting you promoted. So, guess you're out of luck, man. But thanks for producing anyway.
No worries.
On Saturday, we've got a debate on professional wrestling with D-Bonk and Jesse 10-2 on the SE Toon Show. And I confirmed today we have special fun rules for that. Super secret, something Cliff and I talked about, and it's going to happen. Craig, what do you have coming?
I've got a debate tomorrow with a pastor from Africa.
Pastor
Who,
from
It's
Africa.
interesting.
yeah, that runs a flat Earth church.
Wow.
Yeah, and then on Saturday at 10 p.m. before Skatoon Show, I'm debating. Oh God, what's his name? Where's he? Oh, Prisoner of War. He calls himself.
Lovely. PJC Net, what do you have coming up on your channel?
I don't know. I might make something. I haven't made
Yeah?
anything yet. I might.
All right.
I'm thinking about. I've got a super expensive camera now. All of 14 quid. No, I'm gonna get better. I'm saving up for a new gaming PC, so I'm thinking I'll sod it up. But I'm not gonna spend loads until I get that.
Well, you can make. Here's I tell everybody this: make your first video with whatever you have right now, because it's your first video, and no matter what you do, a year later you're gonna look at that and say, "Wow, that was rough." Even if you had the best equipment.
I mean, even
Craig?
this was only about 18 quid.
What was the camera
Huh?
or the
Huh?
microphone? Oh, the
Yeah.
microphone. Sounds fine. So
Yeah, works
I don't know.
perfectly.
one more from Stringer News, one for $5 says, "Who do I talk to about getting a younger, hotter avatar?" PJ, that's to you because you're the one that is the very, very expert on simulation.
Maybe in your next life.
Oh, you're out of luck there. Stringer News one. But if you could get to Elon, maybe he'll help give you a hand. So. All right. Well, cool. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next week. I'll be at home on this channel. I'll be at home, and I'm debating Sizzle Deft, who wants to be called SOM now. Also from Africa. Got a lot of them. Anyway, thanks a lot, everybody. We'll see you later. Bye. And then Craig, you have to do the out.
Yes, I'm pressing it.
Go ahead. Just whatever. Just awesome. Do that is-
Oh, no, I haven't disconnected. I haven't separated them.
James Weber, call him out on the footage of the shuttle going to space. I provided the link. He can't refute it. No, he can't. He can only say simulation. Craig, can you send PJ that link?
Yeah, I will.
PJ, thank you for coming.
No problem, thanks. Maybe another time you made something else. It's up to you.
Yeah.
I was stressed. I was really stressed this time when I first come up. Something you've got to get used to.
Yes, I'm always happy for people that come on the first time, because you don't know what you're going to get into. You don't know. I mean, you do more than anybody else does. Yes, Will and Foley.